They did. They live in a nice place, and now they all do not live there anymore. So Toast and Lando and Ben and Alexis are all gone.
It's quite complicated to get working. I know there was a fair amount of skepticism out there. You've got to earn the belief. The game wasn't built. The game wasn't built.
Haven't had an opportunity to work on them, but they are in the works.
Refactor them, change things out, retrofit it, refactor them, refactor them. People program things.
This is bullshit.
We're back. This is your Star Citizen ARGcast. I am your virtual captain, and I'm sitting here with Bootcha and TheAgent, who've been trying to hijack my show, which only I can do. What the fuck, guys?
We were lonely.
I need a new revenue stream. I'm sorry. This is the only way I can make my $10,000 a month that I need to sustain myself.
This podcast is completely open development. If you want to record your own show with other buddy buddies and rub together, send it to me and I'll publish it. Hell yeah. So I don't know what you guys were talking about. I was in and out. But what's going on? What haven't you covered yet?
Jesus, I think we've dipped into just about everything over the last 2 hours.
So maybe this might just be a case of getting you up to speed and hearing your reaction to everything.
Okay. Oh, well, okay.
And so...
Do chronologically, because that last bombshell was pretty nuts.
You said nuts. It's topical. All right. We talked about... I think the last episode that we really did was when Agent and I were discussing back and forth, and then you went away. And so from there... a couple of things have happened. Now, one of the big things, I believe, if I'm looking back at your Star Citizen thread recaps. So,
okay.
Let's see.
Oh, the closing of one of the shell companies.
So yeah, that was one. That's a little bit.
Is this the
little bit later
precursor to the avalanche of them all closing, or what?
Well, let's see. It might be, but we're not sure yet. So we have. Well, let's start out with one. So, Disco Lando and Ben Lesnick.
That was a little bit of an odd chapter.
An odd chapter, close towards when we left off. So,
dude.
Yep.
I hate. You know what? The reason we haven't been doing episodes is because I took a little vacation. And I was thinking, when I get back from vacation, we're just going to call it Season 2. So, congratulations, guys. You guys already started Season 2. Good job, everybody.
What a way to start.
I'm sorry for the derail. Go ahead.
Okay, so actually, I'm catching back up with everything. So, the big thing that came out that we didn't get to talk to a lot was... the Derek Smart tweet of the $9 million Nothing Burger. That CIG currently has at or below $9 million left in their bank accounts.
I don't think I've posted that in the recap thread yet. Maybe I did.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Mesa too.
Yeah, so, that's one of those, Derek rumors. What was your guys' take?
Plausible.
Okay.
Also not plausible. Could be both.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I've been thinking about lately, and this is a coming and going topic, is they like to throw this 400 plus employees number out there, and all the napkin math says that's impossible. But we've talked about that on the show before. Tell me what were you guys talking about before?
Well, let's see. I guess sort of like I was doing a lot of napkin math on that, and
okay,
it was a case of sort of like 2013 to 2014 was when CIG made most of the cash reserves because they weren't spending it nearly as fast as they were making it, and then when they transitioned to the larger outsourcings and studio expansions, new studio. And in Manchester for Aaron and the German studio and whatnot. That's when sort of like you went from black to red on the chart. And Agent is also right. It could be a case of convenient storytelling, and it could be a nothing burger. But in my research, it makes more sense than it is unbelievable.
Well, it also makes more sense, too, if you're being sued by somebody who wants to see how much you actually have on the books, to say, we don't got much left. And that, to me, makes it completely plausible as well. I mean, as we were talking about with the Hollywood accounting, you don't want to have a whole bunch left in the pool. You don't want a lot of water left in the pool. You want that thing almost completely drained, so when someone comes sniffing around, you're like, well, too bad, there's nothing really a whole lot left.
That was one of my questions to Derek when the lawsuit first erupted, or broke the news. Was do they have any idea there's allegedly very little money left? And he told me no. There's a screenshot of that in the recap thread, I believe. So if anyone wants to go look at that, you can. And I don't want to bore any. I feel bad making you guys rehash what you already talked about. Is there anything new you wanted to go over?
No. We're getting your reactions.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm looking at the recap thread at the moment, and one thing that stood out to me this week was failure to report back in action as far as YouTube goes. And then there was another YouTube guy that was going to do videos about Star Citizen, and then ran into that wonderful community we know, and kind of changed his tune pretty quickly. That was interesting.
Oh,
but
Sid Alpha,
right?
Right?
Little history about the ARGcast here. A lot of it came from what I saw with failure to report. I saw basically kind of an average poster that put his effort posts into YouTube and got a lot of reactions and people talking about it. And I thought, well, I know how to record video and I know how to record audio. Well, let's just do it. So that's kind of, when he got out of the game, that's when I thought, there's really nothing especially interesting about his theories and stuff. So let's just do it. So that's kind of where this kind of, for me, came from, if anyone cares.
Okay.
And now you will make tons of money.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The millions of YouTube hits that you'll get. Actually, what? The funny thing is that, especially with like Bootcha's videos and these ARGcasts, is that it's a great archive when 4 years from now someone wants to look back and be like, Star Citizen, that was fucking hilarious. What were people saying at the time? And they can go and reference all this crazy
I totally
shit.
agree.
Yeah.
That is another part of the motivation, is just putting this down and the recap thread does that really well, because you don't have to spend 100 hours to catch up with 1 week. But and I'm not expecting anything to. Yeah. Anyways, you're right. It's all about the archive, and that's why. What do I call myself on that forum? Stimperial Archive Priest.
Right. Well, it's also one of the reasons whenever I get the demo up for Love Pledge, there'll be a Spite Pledge tier, where if you got screwed out of money from Roberts and you wanted to give me some, there'll be a $500 Spite Pledge that you can throw at me if you wanted to really say something, or if you just want to write a nasty letter to me saying I'm an awful human being for hating on Star Citizen. You can do that too. I'll still take your money. So it'll be great.
But speaking of changing titles and whatnot, the next bit of news after the Derek Smart thing was the revelation and reveal that Ben Lesnick, Alexis, and probably Lando moving out of the LA apartment that they were in. Ben and Alexis moving back home to Maryland, and essentially no longer a part of CIG proper. Now, the one thing I do know is that Lesnick is cited as the chief writer for the Jump Point magazine, sort of like the subscriber things that they throw around every month.
The things that they're writing instead of the novella.
Yeah. So Lesnick will ostensibly be working on that remotely at in Maryland, but for all intents and purposes, his involvement in the in Star Citizen's development and Squadron 42's development has ceased. He is not a person of any consequence anymore.
No, obviously. I mean, to have him be a remote, a remote employee so far away from development, it's ridiculous. If they were transitioning a lot more people over to sort of the work from home, and they might be. I mean, this could be the first step in a series of people working from home. But to say work from home and then move to Maryland, it screams to me. We didn't really get to the point of where he was living. We mentioned it, but we didn't really bring up that him and Jared and a couple other people were living in a building owned by people from Cloud Imperium.
Now, for anyone who hasn't seen that tweet, I'm pulling it up here. He says, what does he say here?
He'll be working remote and traveling to the studios as needed.
Yeah, and this is kind of the flimsiest deflection I can really think of, but it's kind of funny that you see, I think there's Reddit, you can probably find one or two people, swallowing that hook, line, and sinker. And who knows? Maybe it's true. I pretty much doubt it. But
we had this. Yeah, we had this thing about 6 months ago where he changed his stuff from. No one heard from him in Star Citizen for a long time.
Right.
So they're like, "What's going on? What's going on?" He was like, "No, I'm still working. And then he took off the Robert Space Industries off his Twitter, and then all of a sudden, like 400 people, it blew up, right? And then he was like, "Oh no, that was just a mistake. I pointed to my personal site, but it's back on Robert's now. I'm still here."
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, he's working from home.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to read between the lines here. Woo. Yeah.
I mean, like the nearest office to Lesnick from Maryland is the Texas office, and I've made that drive myself. That is at least a 22-hour drive, and I do not see that being a very frequent one, if at all. And you also have to remember, say, "Oh, why can't he fly?" Ben Lesnick can't fly anymore.
Yeah, he's a little too big for flying.
Not just that, it is a health concern that he cannot fly.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, not only would you be paying for 2 seats, and I'm not trying to insult the guy.
Yeah.
But Bootcha, you're more familiar with his medical situation than most listeners would be. And the time he was in the hospital, I guess you visited him, or?
I did not. No.
Okay.
I did pass along my get well soons.
Right.
The rift between Ben and I has not been healed as of yet, but I did send my get well soon. But it is a case of the sepsis infection that Ben suffered was actually pretty severe. It was dangerous. It was close to mortal, and thankfully he pulled out of it. Thankfully the treatment was well, and. But it has left him in a state where it is dangerous for him to fly. Health-wise.
Blood pressure couldn't that cause some sort of damage with the air pressure and all that stuff? I know that happened
to his heart, to his liver. Yeah. Yes, very much so. So, and that is why, actually, Ben Lesnick did not go to any of the. Did not go to any of the sitcoms overseas, because the Manchester one was initially because I believe just sort of like they didn't want to pay for 2 seats, but then he did get sepsis, and then it was a case of no insurance company is going to cover the liability in the case that you have either a
need
heart
to make
failure
an
or
emergency
liver failure.
landing.
Yeah, so. It was just a case of, Lesnick is stuck on the ground. He can only travel by car. And it's...
That was kind of the funny thing about the tweet, or I saw the tweet, and he's driving from San Francisco to Maryland, and that's nothing to sneeze at. And then you were typing in a Discord, the games Discord, cool guy, and you were saying that no, he can't fly for likely can't fly for medical reasons. And then I said, oh, now driving all the way makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. So
Wow.
with Lesnick's pretty much removal from the project in
Wait,
all but spirit.
Wasn't he just at an air show? Is that the most sadly ironic thing? I mean, that just...
Oh yeah. I forget if it was in Texas or if it was somewhere else. God, I hope I didn't run into him. Well, actually, I would know if I ran into him, but...
Well, we were talking here on that the episode before that. I was saying, this whole project got off on the wrong foot with the ships.
Mm-hmm.
And, I haven't worked on anything that is serving a million customers like Star Citizen hopes to do, but I've done a few different deployments, and kind of choosing the framework, choosing the foundation software-wise is quite important. And I feel like there was there was a rush to get something out the door, and that I feel like that hangar module was just really a bigger decision than it should have been. And they've just been stumbling since then to try and get this thing working.
Well, I mean, we did talk a little bit about that, sort of like the cart before the horse.
Right.
And it is kind of a case of, you want to show off the ships that these backers pledged for. You want them to feel good about what they did. I mean, that was our opinion of the hangar module. Sort of like, let's give the backers the tactile satisfaction that what they pledged for is reality. And so a lot of people were buying the spaceships a la carte to say, oh hey, no, I've got all these spaceships. At that time I think it was like 6 or 7 at that point. And it was like, okay, yeah, we got 6 or 7 ships. Yeah, we can fix that up. Yeah, we can put it in a hangar. No problem. And now, 117 ships later, it's like trying to get all those into hangars and whatnot. Even some of them can't even fit.
It's somewhat defeating, or it's odd to me, this continued ship obsession. Whenever a new ship does appear in the hangar module or become flyable, you do see a lot of excitement. So it's kind of a bad feedback loop they've created, where they get this reward of getting a ship in there, and I hear that the sales follow those flyable ships as well when they first pop up. I mean, look at the Reclaimer when that hit the persistent universe as a flyable but unfunctioning ship. Then I heard quite a few sold, at least going by Reddit posts.
Yeah,
but
and chiefest among the spaceship sellers, Disco Lando, had a Twitter meltdown, talking about a lot of regret. And one of the things that he mentioned is the community is no longer in his job title.
Right. That was part of a video meltdown, I think.
Yes,
right?
a Twitch streaming meltdown. Well, a Twitter and Twitch streaming meltdown.
I don't know if it was a meltdown. It was more, that sort of... I mean, I pretty much talk to my cat that way all the time, so it's fine.
Cat talk.
Yeah, it's just sort of just a sad, sort of like an Eeyore just who had too much whiskey. It's just well, I don't know what to do about.
Yeah,
it wasn't a meltdown.
It was pretty clear from the video, and I haven't watched the whole thing, that he was moving out of that place there.
Yes,
and I don't know if that comes with a downgrade or what.
That comes with having to pay real rent in Santa Monica. Welcome to.
Well,
maybe it was a bit
hell.
of like couple days of unsuccessful apartment searching fueling that.
Well, they lived in a nice place, by the way. They lived in a pretty decent apartment complex, pretty close to the ocean, and I come off sounding like a very bad stalker man, thanks to saying that. But they did. They lived in a nice place, and now they all do not live there anymore. So Toast and Lando and Ben and Alexis are all gone. Now, I heard that Sherry Heidelberg or whatever lives in the same complex, but she's still there. So I'm not sure what's going on. That could be complete fallacy. I don't know if that's true or not, that she lives in the same complex. But apparently I was told that several their employees live in the same apartment complex, and they are retaining their ability to live there.
So yeah, you wanted to discuss the possibility of CIG owning buildings.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's owned specifically by CIG as an entity corporation.
Oh,
but I could,
or the leases are subsidized
Correct.
by.
Yeah, it's a great thing to take a loss on. By the way, there's a whole thing on taking losses. What you do is you buy a place under a business. You charge almost no rent, and then you take the loss of what you could be charging for it versus what you're actually getting in. We do that all the time in California. It's really shitty. I might do that. No, I wouldn't do that. But people I know that I hate do that, and they make lots of money off of it because they get to write all off at the end of the year on business expenses.
So yeah, there's one possible way.
It's financing Love
Yeah.
Pledge. That's how I'm doing. I'm running out the apartment complex and financing it that way. But no, yeah, that's something to look at. I don't know if that's true, if they were actually being subsidized or if someone owned the building, but it's very strange that they were all moving out by the end of last month.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was a little bit shocked when I first saw Disco Lando streaming on Twitch, and there's one of his coworkers hovering around there in the background. I thought, oh, okay, well, they're just hanging out. And then I think later on, or maybe the same stream, it becomes apparent that these guys aren't just hanging out playing board games; they're roommates.
Yep.
And I was like, well, that's a little odd.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it happens. I've lived with when I worked at Sony Online. I roomed with a person there after I left my single condo and moved in with someone in a 2-bedroom apartment that I knew there. But it's weird that they all got there kind of around the same time, moved in like they weren't friends or before, and it just like all seems very convenient to me.
I think Lando came in later though.
He might have, but it just seems strange that this. I mean, you could have corporate places. I mean, people have apartments. People shoot porn in corporate apartments all the time too. By the way, but it's just weird that this whatever transpired with Lesnick leaving set off this chain of events that's more than just him and his wife. It's a series of it impacts other employees, which is just very odd to me. Not professionally, because that always happens when someone leaves. It's a professional impact, but a personal impact as well. Especially since Jared and Lando, Jared and Ben didn't really. I don't know how long they knew each other for, if they were really close friends. But there was that rumor that Alexis and Jared were quite close.
And I can't speak of that at all.
Yeah.
So I mean, so moving on from there. So the other big thing was the 27,000 pound gorilla that dropped onto the media in the form of the Legatus pack.
Right.
So.
Right.
Talking about whether or not it's an indication of CIG being desperate, or if it's just another case of like a completionist pack that only a small subset of the actual pledge base is buying, or as far as like the backers.
The thing that struck me about that situation was usually when these changes occur, we'll see a Polygon article a day or two later, and a couple of other places massively seems to post things about Star Citizen. But in this case, it was everybody, practically the day of. Correct me if I'm wrong, but geez, I mean, you got at least 20 articles out there. Quite a big response, huh?
And
yeah.
I mean, it $27,000 to spend on a game. That's not a small amount.
I like a point that Scruff Puff pointed out, is that all these guys were writing about how you get 117 ships. But even with passing knowledge, we know that half of these ships aren't done. I mean, I think it's like 1/4 of them are done,
Right.
flyable, and even then, can you really call them done?
Right, since none of the mechanics are really in yet for a lot of them.
Right. So that was a great post. You got to look that up if you haven't seen it. It's incredible that, I mean, I have a hard time believing anyone has bought it. Some people today were looking at the tracker numbers to see if there's a 27,000 hour spike anywhere, and we weren't able to find one.
I think there was one.
There was a single one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that brings into question sort of like the one that we know was from Clifford.
He
the Twitter
claims
guy.
to.
He claims to have. Well, I think he's posted pictures of like
he
the
shows
regattas.
it. He shows it, right?
So that brings into the question of the funding tracker. Sort of like, well, we know that Clifford melted down and got a Legatus pack, from melting down.
That's what it looks
store.
like.
But
We haven't seen a new dollar amount posted from him, which
Oh.
you think would be a thing to do if you suddenly dropped an additional 27,000.
yes, but if it's the case of no new money actually came in, and yet there was a spike, that would call into question the validity of the funding tracker.
And this has long been talked about that
Oh, yeah.
whoever, anything that was bought for even partial store credit is tracked as the full amount,
Yeah.
So
which
it
makes sense. I mean, I would do the same damn thing.
But then it comes into a question of how much of that 187 million is actually
How
cash.
much? What's the recycle percentage on that?
Yeah.
This is the crazy thing for me. It's a woefully small amount for a popular game to make over 5 years. If you pitched me a game and said, all right, man, it's going to cost $200 million to make, but I'll make 187 million over 6 years. It's like, well, that's like 30 million a year. That is small. I mean, in today's gaming space, when you're talking about $600 million of sales on day one, plus all the other microtransactions added on to that could be hundreds of millions of more over the life of the game. 200 million or 187 million dollars over 6 years is absolutely nothing. $35 million a year is a woefully small amount. And on the reverse side, I have a problem with believing that there's so many people out there who actually love Star Citizen, because if you play Star Citizen, it is not a good game in its current iteration. So I don't know who's spending, besides like someone like Clifford. They must have 1,000 or 2,000 people tossing $25K or $50K or more at them every 6 months to sustain this thing. It's just crazy to me. And also, too, $36 million a year or $35 million a year is not enough to sustain this level of game development. It's just not. If you want to, you can't do it. You have a 24 to 36 month cutoff spending as much as a AAA studio before you're starting to go way in the red. And this right now, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they've taken out loans to cover hundreds of millions of dollars worth of stuff, because as I said before, Roberts really does believe this is going to be a $2 billion franchise, or a $1 billion+ franchise.
Yeah. And speaking of Roberts, another big thing that happened is a round of applause. Chris Roberts turned 50.
Oh God, yeah,
On Earth.
Monaco.
Yes. And where he spent that birthday or the Memorial Day weekend? Well, honestly, we don't need to know, but it would be really fun if he went back to Monaco.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
Actually,
I haven't seen the ATV, but they were, I guess,
Not there.
conveniently sick.
absent twice.
Well, I
Absent
don't know
twice.
if they said they were sick or what, but that's what Gorf posted, and I haven't viewed that video yet.
I mean, come on, it's Monaco. They've gone to it
The
twice
Grand
before.
Prix, yeah.
It's the Grand Prix. I mean, I would love to go to that thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a big Grand Prix fan, but that is where you get some rich-ass people on some nice-ass boats with some really nice hotels and some great gambling. I would love to go. So I can't fault him for going. It's just, it would be great if he,
Did
finished
it on his
fucking
own
game.
dime.
Yeah, I mean, and he is. I mean,
Well,
people are paying him
yeah,
to pay him. I mean, who knows? I mean, the company could pick it up as some sort of corporate retreat. I mean, if he was smart, that's what they'd be doing. Is that
it's
they'd
a
be
line
charging
item
everything to
expense.
the company.
Yeah, line item
Yeah,
expense.
I mean, you could, Sandy needs it for acting lessons or something. So write that shit off, and you need to study the gravitational effects on high-speed cars for the game or whatever. I mean, you could write all this
Well,
shit.
the
I mean,
racing
it's
module.
yeah, the racing. We're
Now,
going to the.
Now, I was not to rehash all last week over and over and over, because I don't want to do that. But I was thinking, what is it going to be this year? I think the question I was thinking to myself at lunch was, every year around the October time, they have those two different conventions, the Gamescom and the SitCon, and that tends to they tend to release a video or gameplay thing that they perform on stage, and that gets people excited about the game for a couple months there. But we're running out of that excitement, or we already ran out of it, I suppose, quite a while ago for the last thing they showed.
Well, fear not, because while they're not going to Gamescom, Star Citizen has been listed as a potential demonstrator at the E3 PC Games display, hosted by PC Gamer magazine. So,
but I would love to see something. It's always fun. I mean, the thing I look forward to is getting on Discord with all the goons and watching these things.
yes,
But
it's a question of whether or not they're going to show up.
they seem to be as they kind of blueballed us this last year, 2017. They pushed it off by one day. But I'm thinking, how long? I mean, it's a little bit nuts that it's lasted this long. This kind of merry-go-round of every year, let's roll out a new video thing. It seems to me like people are getting tired of it. Is it going to work this year, you think?
I think SitCon 2018 in Austin, where it all began, I think that is probably going to be the last big hurrah.
I'm on the same page with that.
Will it be even big though? They didn't even sell half their tickets out. So you're gonna have.
That's true.
I mean, they had to stop selling the tickets and saying, well, the first round of tickets is sold out. I'm like, motherfucker, you gotta be kidding me. Like, please, don't pull that shit. Don't think you're BlizzCon, where you have to have 2 sets of seats or ticket sales because they sell out within 3 minutes. I've waited in those queues. I could still get SitCon tickets all the way up until they blocked from selling them. So I think that was ridiculous that they pulled that. Also, too.
Okay.
So they stopped selling them and they're gonna. The second round will go on sale. But sandwiching SitCon between what is that? It's a huge. Yeah, no, it's
the music festival.
Yeah, it's the
Austin City Limits.
Yeah, so City Limits, which is huge, which I would actually love to go to, but it's so fucking expensive out there. I'm trying to finagle going to Dallas and then driving over to we're flying over to Austin. But I'd love to go. If I do end up going, I'd buy a seat over at SitCon to hang out. But we mentioned them showing something at SitCon. It's a ways off, and now they might be at E3. I do not see them on the sponsors list. But guess who I do see on the sponsors list for the PC Gaming Show, and that is our wonderful, often hated game, Frontiers Elite. They are helping sponsor that. So it wouldn't surprise me if they get a lot of shade thrown at them for having Elite featured on the PC Gaming Show. So that could happen. I'm not sure if I do not see a CIG sponsor tag for the PC Gaming Show, so they're probably out. I don't even think they'll have a little. Even last year, it had a little CIG Star Citizen thing on the sponsor list, and they showed up for that. Blink if you miss it, 2 seconds.
The Chris Roberts. Hi, this is Star Citizen.
Didn't even do that. It was like, there's a ship in the background, pew pew, and then it was Chris and Sandy just kind of waving, and then it cut away. That was it. That was it was in a sizzle reel So it was like all these different games, and all of a sudden it was like Star Citizen, Chris Roberts. Okay, moving on. I mean, it was seconds. It was 2 fucking seconds on the PC gaming show. So it'll be interesting to see if they even do that. I think that might have been a nice reach out that they tried to do for them. But again, has been hinted at for years, especially with the AMD letter, that they are notoriously hard to work with. And anytime you apply any sort of pressure to them to get results, they push back with this whole, you don't understand my vision. My vision is too perfect to be clouded by this bullshit PC gaming show crap. So we'll see how it turns out this year. I don't think we'll see him at all, especially if Day 9 is there and he's going to be hosting that the PC gaming show. He is not going to go light on Star Citizen, by the way. He will not be like, Star Citizen was fucking incredible. I love $27,000 ships. Yay! He will fucking tear into Star Citizen, Chris Roberts. So they're probably going to skip that shit.
Probably, yeah. So, I mean, really, where's there left to go? I mean, well, obviously the holiday sale at the end of the year.
That's what's going to say.
I don't know anything about that because it's like, okay, ships are a reduced price or something. I don't know.
No, they're the same. It's funny. They call it a sale, but anything's just for sale. You can buy them. Actually, they don't call them sales anymore. That was our term.
Promotion.
Now the promotional material, whatever. So they're going to be selling them, but they never discount them. Yep. They actually go up in price every year. So they don't discount them. They just open up the whole store to buy whatever you want.
Yeah, I think I spent like 2 years thinking it was actual like discount period.
Right, which would be cool, but it's not. Like any other normal game manufacturer would be like, oh, we should probably throw a sale up and discount. They're like, oh no, our sale means they go for more. So fuck you and buy some shit.
So really, I mean, that's what there is. There is, well, they have their roadmap going on right now, sort of like hopefully 4.0 by the beginning of next year. But looking at that roadmap is sort of like, well, yeah, that's some nice improvements, but where's the rest of the game? There is a long way to go.
That roadmap, it also seemed like since 2015 has been the same thing, saying, look, this is all the stuff that's coming. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be amazing. The next update's going to contain all this amazing stuff, and then it just keeps getting pushed to the next update. I mean, even the service beacon stuff that we got with 3.1, that's now, we're rehashing all of that for 3.2. I mean, actually not 3.2, sorry, 3.3. Actually, no, we're going to rehash that even more in 3.4. Sorry, all of that's actually going to come in the functionality, overarching functionality. Once we add in everything to the game, that'll be early 2019. That'll be coming with 4.0, which will change the game completely. Please buy more ships. We really need your funding levels to increase because you're letting us down and I can't go to Monaco this year. Fuck you. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I was really ready for the fireworks in 2017. It didn't happen. I feel like there's a chance here in 2018, but I'm not holding my breath. I think they'll get into 2019, and I don't know. It kind of depends on how they're able to rally their base around whatever video they've got get in the oven at the moment.
Well, it's always a video.
Right.
But I mean, like, as far as like fireworks, I don't think there'll be works. I think there'll be fire, like from a dumpster fire.
I think they could really, honestly, take this to 2020. I think they can. I think they can take it beyond 2019. I think they can go to 2020. I think they're going to keep going until the lawsuit really goes one way or another for them.
Oh yeah!
Wow. One other outcome that we've been discussing in the thread, and we're reaching here at the time limit that we talked about, is one thing we were talking about in the thread was the possibility of a buyout. I think Derek was saying on Twitter they're searching for a buyer, and that tells me, things are coming to a close here.
We're looking at Digital Anvil all over again. Yeah,
but that rumor, by the way, that Derek floated out there, that's been going on since 2016.
Yeah.
I mean, that rumor of them looking for a potential either heavier investors or heavier buyouts. Yeah, that's been going on for a long time. They floated the whole co-op publishing thing, but got rejected because Chris didn't want to give up control or timelines to anyone else.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, so honestly, that's been going on for years now, and I mean, we can decry the end of Star Citizen, and we'll probably be wrong for a while, but eventually it's going to be right because they're just not going to be able to release a game. I mean, really, it's going to come down to this: either they get sued and they shutter because Skadden takes everything, and they couldn't finish coding everything into Lumberyard first, so they just lose all their assets. It's going to take them another 6 years. They might still keep funding together, but with that loss of confidence from the lawsuit, it's going to be really hard to pull together even half of what they're doing now. Especially if you tell everyone, hey, that's great that you paid for all these ships. They're not going to be in the game for another 6 years, but we're going to sell you more ships that will probably not be in there for 10 years, so you can celebrate your 50th birthday in Star Citizen with a new ship. Anyway, but going along the same lines of that, I really feel that it's either going to be the Skadden thing, they couldn't get it into Lumberyard first, or eventually they release a game. And now, to me, Star Citizen is already released, but for a lot of people it's still in alpha, pre-alpha, whatever. But once they start nailing down specific mechanics, once they start saying, well, here we go, this is how X works. Once they start doing that, it's over.
If they called it beta tomorrow, what do you think the backers would say?
I think they
would lose it, in my opinion.
I think they would. I think they would completely lose their shit if they said, "Oh, by the way, Star Citizen is released," which, according to some rumors, that's what internally they're already saying. It's already released. It's not an alpha product; it's a released product. So
it's an early access.
Yeah, it's an early access. And as Chris Roberts likes to say, is any product ever really released? Don't people keep working on them for like 10 years so that you can't really say anything's ever released anymore, which is very funny to me. But yeah, I think once they start nailing down the specific mechanics of mining, of salvaging, of piracy, anything that has to do specifically with PvP, they're going to alienate a lot of their backers. If they say, oh, you could be PvE forever, like you have your little, switch that says, oh, you can PvP or not, everyone's going to keep that on PvE. Why would you opt in to PvP ever? And then if you say, well, you're already opted into PvP, it's going to be a griefing nightmare. So you're going to alienate your other half of your player base. So it's going to be very trying for them to keep people, and this is why you keep seeing these mechanics never nailed down, always pushed out, because the second they put them in concrete and say, this is it, you're going to have people explode on the forums, and you're going to have people, even more people trying to get refund that they're going to have to start saying no to. Instead of like delaying as far as they can, they're going to have to actually start saying no, and that's going to blow up on them too.
Well, at some point we're going to have, I suspect what we're going to have is people that have been delayed in their refund for over a year. And then it's like...
Yeah, it's been 6 months.
It's going to become very apparent that this is not happening.
I mean, I think some people are saying now that they're getting updates about having no updates for them after being in the queue for 5 months. I mean, to me, that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean,
this is the thing that is always surprising to me. I mean, these guys do everything by hand. It's always an email. I mean, why don't you write a script to bounce these guys every week or something? It's nuts.
Well, I mean, they want to still... I mean, again, there could be only a couple hundred refunders in the queue. And again, if you're talking about people like... I remember there was several articles last year or early this year about people wanting to get refunds that were in for like 30,000. That were in for 15,000, 25,000. Okay. And again, these were decried as people who were trying to hurt creating these falsehoods and doing all this. But it turns out they actually had proof to back it up, and in those gaming sites, you can see the proof. So it wasn't just trolls or whatever. But I guarantee you, there's no way they can afford to give people back $30,000. There's just no way at this point. So I think also too, when they say no more refunds, that's going to cause a rush on the bank too.
The other day, when I first had you on the show, I was asking you how many of your leaks are jokes, and you said basically any of them that starts with hello, and basically any that aren't obviously just for fun. Right. That was surprising to me, because there was one or two that I had a tough time swallowing, And the toughest one for me to figure out was the you have to pledge more to get what you paid for, even in reduced form.
Nope,
that to me was really on the knife. Is he just making this up? Is this one just for fun, or is this a real thing that some developer there actually wrote?
Well, yeah, I mean that one was 100%. I mean, I don't know if it's true, but that's what someone passed on to me. The funny thing is that when that came out and people were like, "Oh my God, what a fake piece of crap, my God!" And then you have people 4 months later going like, "We need to give CIG more money. We need to give them more money, or we're not going to see the game that we want." I mean, this is from diehard backers that are now saying we need to give CIG more money. It is so crazy to me how I would put something up and then there would be a swath of people saying, "My God, that can't be true. That is so fucking retarded. Jesus Christ, who can believe this shit?" And then 6 months later, they're saying what I wrote as something that needs to happen. It's fucking insane to me.
Bookmark that. That is the show intro.
Yeah. I mean, the story of Star Citizen, as it continues, even when you take a small vacation, it always continues. And it always gets worse.
It was a real treat. I was catching up with like 100 pages. It was real fun.
But
yeah, it's a never-ending pile of comedy. I mean, no matter how it ends, they release a game, they don't release a game, it goes up in flames, it turns out to be great. I don't care. I mean, I'm just in this to see, especially the people behind this. The people behind this are they're very scummy. I think, as we've all come to find out, and it's hard to admit that some of your idols could be either not bright or want to scam you. I mean, or take your money and not really deliver anything. I wouldn't say scam you out of it, but I find it very funny that there's all this behind the scenes stuff, especially as Bootcha and I talked about with the Hollywood thing, and he's going to do a whole video on it. And I mean, we could just you can go into the deep delve of Ortwin's life, of Sandy's life before all of this happened, and what they have done, of Chris's life, of the Elms brothers, of Aaron at TT, all these different things that really paint a very negative picture of these people. And it's surprising that when you bring up these sort of historical facts that people who are still very invested in the project will say, like, "My God, you're just trying to just tear them down. Why have you done this? They're just an evil person. You just want to bring up their past and just smear them. You're just fucking assholes." And then the funny thing is that those same backers, like let's say 2 years ago, said, "Oh, you're talking about this. You're talking about the Elms Brothers. You're talking about Orton. Fuck you guys. You guys are just a bunch of goons. Fuck you." Well, then of course they come around and they're like, "Wow, Star Citizen really hasn't been released yet, and I should probably go look at some of this stuff." And they're like, "Did you guys hear about that Gizmondo thing? Wait, the Elms Brothers were a part of Gizmondo? Ortwin is a part of Gizmondo? Wait, Chris Roberts and like that, they were involved in Gizmondo? Did you guys know about this? Like, motherfucker, what have we been telling you? Please."
Well, that hopefully is part of the fun part of everybody figuring this out in 2020 or whatever.
I hope so. It's a slow trickle. It feels like. I mean, you have failure to report. You have people like Sid Alpha. You have other people that are slowly starting to turn. I wouldn't say a negative, but I'd say a more critical eye towards the development process as a whole, and that's just going to start releasing the floodgates on all this information. And I'm happy to provide it to them. You don't have to believe me or Bootcha or VC here or Beat or anybody. Just go on Wikipedia and start clicking on links, and all of a sudden you'll find that that there's some very sketchy stuff going on with these people.
This has happened a few times where someone says, "Geez, I thought I'd go search about Star Citizen, and it's just an abyss in here."
Yep.
But going back one or two topics, there was a post by Beat. He was saying that the Reddit narrative shifted to CIG doesn't have enough money to finish the game, which is exactly what Derek Smart has been saying since he started this thing.
Yeah. And the agent as well. The agent has said this.
Yeah, I mean, it's very apparent. I mean, if you're talking about just 20 hours of mocap alone trying to tip that off with all this other stuff, you're looking at, I think it was like 80 million by my napkin math. So I remember a long time ago someone saying that it cost $60 million all told, and the costs continue to rise. And I thought that was extreme, but now after 6 years, that's it would be about that now, about 80 million or so. So well over the 60 originally said.
So I guess we've I think we're gonna wind it down here. Agent's got agent things to do, and
pet dogs.
Yes, and with Virtual Captain squarely back in the captain's seat, we will be able to hand over all his equipment back, less for wear and tear.
For a ransom, of course.
Oh yes, for a completionist package.
Yeah. No, the Legatus. I don't want the fucking completionist. That's for the scrub tier now. I want the 47,000.
So, all right. Well, this has been Bootcha with Virtual Captain and the Agent. See you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye, guys.